Even with all the mess he's got in his background, Ronald's K-1 visa application was approved. But Tiffany can't sponsor him on her own, so she needs a co-sponsor. That's what I want to talk about today. Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Debbie. I'm the She in Sheality TV, and today I want to talk about 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After. I want to talk about Tiffany and Ronald and the fact that his K-1 visa application was approved. Now, what does that mean? That doesn't mean what I thought it meant. I thought it meant his K-1 visa application was approved, so hey, his next step is to buy a plane ticket, hop on a plane, and come to the US. That's not what that means. What it means, to my understanding, is that he now moves from pending to the interview stage. He now is going to get interviewed by the US Immigration and Naturalization Services, or whatever department it is that says whether or not he can come into the country, is going to interview him. Now, Tiffany's issue is that she doesn't make enough money on her own to sponsor him. So she, just like Kalani, needs a co-sponsor to bring him into the country, because you have to make a certain amount of money to be able to sponsor someone from another country into the US, and she doesn't meet that threshold. So she decides that she's not going to ask her mom, because her mom has too many other responsibilities. Her mom, I believe, has a daughter who's almost barely a little older than her daughter. And her mom, she has a house and mortgage and bills, whatever. So she decides to ask her dad to co-sponsor Ronald with her. Now, the issue is that she has to decide whether or not she's going to tell her dad about his background, Ronald's background. Now, as strange as it sounds strange to me, her dad knows nothing about Ronald's gambling problems. He knows nothing about this dude stealing his mother's fridge. He knows nothing about Ronald's negative background. So I'm thinking, how on earth did you keep this all a secret from your dad? Now, I know that her and her dad are tight now, but he wasn't there when she was growing up, right? Anyways, her question is, do I tell my dad about Ronald's background so that he will co-sponsor him to come into the US, or do I just leave that alone? Do I just ask him to co-sponsor Ronald? So she talks to her mom, and her mom says they're kind of weighing it out in the conversation, but her mom's final say is, don't tell him. Don't tell him about any of that stuff, and he will probably co-sign. He'll probably co-sponsor. But if you tell him, I guarantee you he will say no. So I don't know, would you tell him? That's a deep question. Would you tell him, knowing that your husband will probably not be able to come into the country if you tell your dad about his background? And if you don't tell your dad about his background, he will probably say yes. I don't know. I'm a very honest person. I cannot lie. You can ask anyone in my family. I'm the worst possible liar, because I never lie. I just can't. Life is complicated enough without throwing in lies. But I don't know. You know what? I would have to tell the truth and let the chips fall. Anyways, Tiffany talks to her dad, and her dad says, you know what? I like Ronald. After, some back and forth, he says, I like Ronald. Yeah, sure, I'll co-sponsor. And then she says, well, there's some stuff that you should know. So they don't get into it in this episode. She doesn't tell him in this episode. In addition, dude has a criminal background. So I'm surprised that even though his K-1 visa approval is not an approval, like, hey, yeah, through open doors, come on into the US of A, I'm surprised that it got approved at all. Like, did they do background check? What do they do? I'm confused. Anyways, there's a piece of me that feels like this Ronald dude has no intention of moving to the US. In addition, her mom says that Ronald's issues, his gambling problems, his criminal background issues could become a bigger problem if he does move to the US, because she feels like he'll have a lot more freedom. He'll have a lot more distraction, right? To get into more trouble. I don't know. I feel like this, I don't even know why this girl got involved with this man. You knew he was a fridge-stealing, poker-playing crook before you married him. What does he have to do with the red flags? Plant them in your back? Like, it's one thing to not know, obviously, before you marry him, and then to find this all out and go, well, I'm stuck with him now. But you found this all out before you said I do. Anyways, she meets with her dad and she has a conversation and she tells him, you know, I don't meet the financial threshold or the income threshold on my own. So will you co-sponsor Ronald with me? And her dad actually says, well, I like Ronald, so yeah, I'll do it. And like I said before, she says there's something that I have to tell you. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Quite frankly, I don't like Ronald. I just don't. I feel like he's the type of guy who will get to the US and not get a job. He won't contribute because he's in South Africa and he's not contributing. He'd rather spend $3,000 fixing his bike than getting a job and sending his wife money for the kids and the apartment and the whatever. I don't know. I don't like him. I just don't. I feel like he's a deadbeat, but I don't know. People change. I don't think this one's going to, though. Anyways. That's all I've got for Tiffany and Ronald, a 90-day happily ever after for today. My name is Debbie. This is Sheality TV. I will see you next time. Peace.